So it was so nice here last night and no rain in the forecast. I decided, I'll take a chance and do something I never do, and I left the rain fly off. So of course, a couple hours later, I woke up to rain splattering in through the mesh. So yeah, around, 11 o'clock last night, whatever time it was, I had to dive out and get this fly on quick. Fortunately, it's quick to put on. It's basically hook, and then I just have to put 2 loops over the bottom. But yeah, I never do that. I always just do the fly even when it's nice out, and then just sleep with the door open or something. But it does look like for the next 2 days there's actually a frost warning up here, so I am going to be bundling up and having to sleep with my water filter. Settled in for a 3rd cup of coffee this morning, and things are dry enough I can pack everything away in dry storage. With all the vegetation I'm going through, I don't like doing my normal trick of having the rain fly out on top of the pack. I just caught sight of some folks headed my way for once. I've run into a handful of southbounders, but that was early on. And one guy may be on the top of the state high point. But other than that, it's been all northbounders, which isn't unusual because you're all walking in like lockstep. So unless you're going much faster or much slower, you're mostly going to run into people coming the opposite direction. I was talking to some northbound ladies on the top of J Peak, and they said the opposite, that southbounders all over the place, but they'd hardly seen any northbounders. Okay. So we still have a few more days of the slow section. Somebody on a YouTube comment today who seemed to be more familiar with this particular trail said it's basically Johnson down to Appalachian Gap, which is below Camel Hump. I was kind of hoping I could have gotten a few more miles last night, but I was tired to the point where I was stumbling on a couple of routes, and it was good I stopped when I did. Interestingly enough, when I checked the weather, it hadn't predicted that little bit of rain that formed last night. And I'm also under 2 special weather conditions. One is actually a fire watch because it's so dry out here and there's so much fuel on the ground. And then the other is frost warning. So for the next couple of nights, I'm going to have to sleep with my water filter. Because if you end up actually freezing one of those, it causes the filter to not work correctly. Basically, I think it makes bigger holes in those little filter media micro tubes it has. But you can't actually tell it's not working, short of you getting sick. But that could always be failure to wash hands or something like that. So generally, anytime weather is getting down into the 30s, I just stick my Sawyer in a Ziploc and toss it inside my sleeping bag at night. That was why I initially liked the Quick Draw water filter, because it actually has its own caps on either end. So I didn't need a Ziploc that I'd eventually wear out, and I could just, toss it in the bottom. And I may go back to that one. They just had a production issue for at least 2 years that they weren't acknowledging publicly, where the filters wouldn't work straight out of the box, having lower flow than they were supposed to or no flow. I ended up in a town on the CDT up in Colorado, had one where that happened, just called the outfitter to give them an FYI. They had me come back in and we actually tested all of their stock because they had seen that issue before. They had talked to the manufacturer about it. And sure enough, pretty much all of them were affected to a greater or lesser degree. If you can get one that doesn't have that issue, then, they work great. They're the equivalent of a Sawyer, if you ask me. Basically, I treat the Sawyer Squeeze and the Quick Draw as equivalent, and the Be-Free initial faster flow, but clogs faster and can't be backflushed. I don't trust any of the online posts talking about the Quick Draw because I am highly suspicious that they are paying for bots or real people to advertise their filters. I found a few too many posts that lean a little too heavily on the, yeah, this is guerrilla marketing angle. You know, people posting about how their favorite piece of gear is their water filter. And I get like, oh, this is my favorite water filter, but when you're going a little more over the top like that, I mean, water filtration is a necessary evil. It's not really anything that anybody likes to do. But hey, that's why you don't take gear advice from Facebook or social media in this day and age. Too easy for companies to use bots or even real people for fake posts. It's a shame because a couple of years ago, Reddit was kind of like my go-to. Somebody was on a blog posting about XYZ gear, not named Skirka. I was pretty disbelieving, but in general, it felt like Reddit was real people. Now they've got the same problem everybody else does. The last couple of days have been a pretty big workout. I have been tired in the evening, a little bit tired in the morning even. Big thing though, it's just been, it's been beating my knees up. And I knew that coming out here, the steep rocks up and down, you know, the big steps, stuff like that. That's always harder on me. Easier going up than going down, but even then, if you've got to do these big boosts up with the pack on and everything. I remember being quite concerned when I came out to do the AT due to its reputation for lots of up and down like that. And, you know, my knees hurt off and on, but I managed. So these days I avoid things like running or even jogging because anything like that is asking for trouble. There's certain like gym exercises like squats, which are just a bad idea for me. But I seem to manage okay hiking. Ironically, with both the back issue I was having and the knees, the more I'm out hiking, the better overall I do. It's actually worse for me sitting around town, which is just a general theme for me. Some folks don't get it. They act like coming out here is putting wear and tear on my body. And like I've talked to the various knee specialists and whatnot I've had about that. And their opinion is something like this. Yeah, you may put a little bit of additional wear and tear, but I think to a person, they have all said that it's actually much worse sitting around town, you know, gaining weight, and then that messes up your knees. Somehow this is feeling more AT-ish to me. Wet, green, and overcast. Oh, that is pretty. There are differing levels of activity. I mean, obviously, if I was, I have lots of friends that have messed up knees playing basketball and other like higher impact sports. And I don't go around like jumping off rocks or anything, at least not anymore. Ironically, hiking has worked better for me than cycling. For a year or two, I got really into long distance cycling. That's always been on my list to get back to. I really want to get a bike touring setup. I bought a touring bike last summer. Then I got sick and kind of plans got delayed. I need to get a set of bags and a couple other things for it. But I ended up with overuse injuries from cycling, which I picked up because I was rehabbing from a hiking injury at the time. So honestly, the problem's more me, not the activity. That's why I tell everybody I'm just really not well suited for this. Heck, first time I started doing actual like peak hikes with Sierra Club in SoCal, my hip flexor hurt so much I was in tears by the end of a 6 or 7 mile hike. I just liked it enough that I, pushed through it. And eventually, okay, I could manage a 6 mile hike, so I did a little longer. Managed to eventually be able to do some pretty long, impressive things. These days, everybody treats me like I'm this Uber hiker. and that my knees must just be able to handle everything. But you got to remember, before we did the PCT, I spent a summer running around doing the John Muir, the Theodore Solomon, a bunch of other stuff, because I really, really was not sure my knees could handle this. I ended up with a mountaineering fall in 2012-ish, messed up my knee, spent several years increasingly having issues walking or doing anything. That was when I cut back on rock climbing and caving and a couple other things. Had surgery in 2015, microfracture on my right knee. That helped, but it still took me years to fight back to where I felt halfway reasonable hiking. And that basically took a really concerted effort. I found a personal trainer that I could fit in a couple of times a week that helped me adjust around the motions like squats and things that just hurt and do damage. I keep really wanting to find something like that again, because unfortunately I am no longer close enough to the guy I went to before to be able to make that work. Unfortunately, this next year we are going to be back in Ramona at that really pretty cabin we stayed at last winter before everything went bad. But I'm only there for 3 months. And so even if I am able to find somebody, even if they are priced within our range, I barely have time to kind of start seeing benefits. Jen's still in favor of me trying to find somebody. And I actually did start looking last year, only to then have, the back spasm and a couple other things delay me. And then obviously, once I was going through the whole Mal's HSP thing, at that point, it was all I could do to lie around. So we'll see. I would do better if I had more set activities that had a social aspect to them during the off-trail season. Because generally, first couple of weeks are great. I get to do all the things like go back to trying to learn ukulele, yada yada. And then after a couple of weeks, metabolism slows down, not feeling as good as I did out here. Lose that sense of progress. All the really important things I was looking forward to dealing to when I was back in town are dealt with. And that is when I struggle. Until it's basically 2-3 weeks prior to going back out on trail, and then I perk back up. I have been finding all sorts of random clothing bits hanging on trees. I think a couple of socks, a couple of headbands, one sports bra. People wonder why I am so against hanging a bunch of stuff on the outside of a pack like a gypsy. But I swear, every year, people end up losing whole tents off the outside. So I am very careful. Anything that's on the outside is pretty constantly verified and strapped in. And the packs I like are all these giant sacks where I can have my tent, my bear can, my food, the odd everything inside where I don't have to worry about it. I do use the top of my sleeping pad there as a drying pad, but one of the advantages of that is I can constantly look back and make sure it's still there. Plus I have the ULA Y strap, so nothing's held on by just a small clip or anything. I think the second time I did the JMT, I was trying to be smart and I had little clips to attach socks and things to the back outside of my pack, but yeah, not anymore. If you were to see me walking along, I kind of constantly have these habits of bumping my water bottles and my food bag, just because while those are inside pockets that are pretty secure, I have lost them before, so I kind of inherently check that. And now these days, the case of my AirPods. I haven't lost a food bag for a while, but I think the last time I did was on the worst hill of the Condor Trail. Super steep, super overgrown. And I basically had to bushwhack all the way back down until I could find it, because it's not like I could do without the food, even if I was okay with littering. The three folks back there said they were doing a section of the long trail, which they were calling the man hump. So apparently they're just doing the hard part, per what everybody tells me. There was some actual trail magic there. Haven't seen that. The person that gave me a ride out to Journey's End was actually talking about coming out and bringing me a cheeseburger. But unfortunately, the way it aligned, they had to go to work elsewhere. So, oh well. I do have a resupply town in 2.5, 3 days, I think, if everything goes okay. That lady back there had started this trail with a friend. She was doing the northern part of this after having done the southern part the same year I was on that section, 2021. And her friend flew all the way out here and then gave up after 4 miles. So the props to that lady. I've seen so many people who, when something goes off the rails, it's not the trip they envisioned, and they bail. It's awesome seeing somebody just kind of stick with it and roll. So she's just been going shelter to shelter, having fun, taking easy days, and she was going to take a couple of days off trail and avoid that cold snap that's coming in. Sweet! Electrified chicken enclosures. Not on my bingo card for today. Well, I was told this is going to be the busiest part of the trail, and sure enough, I am running into people left and right. Okay, here goes, I guess. That was a nice break. Got like 5 miles pretty much for free. Well, this is annoying. So I've done about 10 miles. Unlike yesterday, those 10 miles were a lot easier. I've got a fair amount left in me, I feel like, but basically I'm going to be into an alpine zone up here, and I'm not going to be able to camp. There is a shelter in about 5.5 miles, and I could maybe make it, but reading between the lines, it looks like there's a lot of scrambling, so slow going. That's up and over the hump. So at the moment, I think there's a shelter a little bit up here. I'm gonna run there, hit the privy, fill water, and then I don't know, I might actually backtrack and find some spot I feel good about camping in. Normally I'd be planning up and over with the goal of finding some place to camp on the far side, you know, just drop down till then. But it does look like I'm staying high for a while, so yeah, probably need to end up staying on this side, go over tomorrow, and then I'll be at Appalachian Gap and the hitch into my resupply partway through the following day. And welcome to another in my ongoing series of Matt doing slightly ridiculous things to avoid staying in what is probably a perfectly nice shelter. Granted, I did talk to somebody who was in the shelter I passed up last night to camp, and apparently there was some shelter drama. So anyway, I'm pulling over early. I am down low enough where I feel good about camping, durable ground, yada yada. I had to get kind of creative here, but it'll work. And tomorrow will be up and over the hump, and hopefully most of the way down to Appalachian Gap. So tomorrow might be the hardest of the remaining days, maybe. We'll see. Today wasn't that bad at all.